Well, everyone, if you're thinking about moving from the northeastern area or the northeastern states, New York City specifically, to Wilmington, North Carolina, or the surrounding areas, you're going to check this video out as I'm going to go over the top 10 worst reasons why you might not want to pick moving down here as your option. Stay tuned. Hello friends, folks, and viewers. This is Charles Vasallo, and welcome to my channel, New York City to Wilmington. Thank you for tuning in. Alright, so I'm going to go over the top 10 worst reasons why you may not want to pick this area, right? You already saw my video for the top 10 best reasons, which are great reasons, right? I did handpick this place when I was prospecting areas to move to before I actually picked Wilmington. You know, I prospected the area. I went all over North Carolina. I went down out to Asheville, out west, just the mountains, you know, the Raleigh-Durham is obviously in the middle of the state. That's really popular. It's just like being in a big city, or even Charlotte, which I didn't check out, but I just kind of looked into it a little bit. So I was picking and choosing, and obviously I picked Wilmington because, you know, and North Carolina specifically, because when we want to get away from the harsh weather and, you know, we just don't want it to be as hot as Florida, but we don't want it to be as cold as New York or anywhere in the north. North Carolina is the first place that's going to pop up because it's just below, I guess, that area where, you know, where the weather starts to be more colder than it is warmer. So I picked North Carolina, and I picked Wilmington specifically because there are some good things, right? And I really wanted to love it here. And I really thought I was going to just, you know, settle down and, you know, create some roots here and just, you know, finish the second half of my life out here. Then things just really just didn't go the way I expected them to go, and you know, I don't have really many good things to say at this point. So I'm gonna get right into this list, right? I'm not even gonna sugarcoat this. I'm just gonna jump right to number one of the worst things, and this is the worst by far, hands down. The next worst one, right, is miles away, right? This is number one by far. I'm not even gonna start with the 10th worst. I'm going right to the first worst. And that is the people. The people here suck ass. I mean, I don't know how many other really ways to say that. The people are just fucked up. And I speak to locals, and thank God I have some locals that are friends, right? I'm not gonna say they're all bad. I'm not gonna say the bad seeds, you know, dictate how I feel about everybody, right? There are some good people out here, right? I've met some good locals, right? I have a client-based business, and I need this society. I need the community for support to make it out here. And so I have met some good people along the way. I've joined some sports leagues like bowling and flag football, and you know, I've been embraced, but not in a way where like nobody's giving me a call and say, hey Charles, come out for a fucking barbecue, or let's go grab a drink, right? It's just not happening. People out here are fucked up. They don't want us down here, that's for sure, and they make it very known, very clear. They do not want Northerners, and they fucking don't want New Yorkers, right? And I don't think that we're necessarily ruining the area. I just think that the area is evolving, right? They're not fucking 10 years behind anymore. Now they're just like 5 years behind. So that's a thing that I think a lot of locals are having a hard kind of bite to swallow, because they're so fucked up and they're so behind, and they're just so simple that anything changes, they don't know what to do. I almost describe them as like, think about a dog that you raise in your home, never gets out, right, and never sees people, right, and finally they're around people, and the dog's sketchy, right, don't know what to do, right, the dog's like kind of wants to bite you, wants to claw at you, doesn't really know what the fuck to do, right. That's the people down here. They don't know what's going on, right. They see people and businesses changing, and you know, and traffic, and they don't know what to do. They're just panicking, right? They're clawing, and they're nasty, and I want to bite, and that's what they are. I've had all the worst experiences I've had here with the locals, right? And we're going to get into that in another video, what those experiences were, right? And what businesses to stay away from. But I've also had some very good experiences, and most of those cases are people that are not true locals. All the people that give me a chance to work and to succeed out here are not from here. All the people that I've talked to, and people that I've sort of befriended, are not from here, right? And even the people that are from here, that the younger generation that I kind of get along with, they even know it. They even say the older generation, which I'm sort of part of now, right? Being in the 40s, right? They're not willing to change. They're still stuck in the fucking Civil War shit, right? And they literally call us Yankees. They call us transplants. Anyone that moves from the north to down here, they literally have a name for us. We're transplants, and they don't respect us. It's literally like if you believed in just like segregation and all that bullshit, and if there's a system to keep you down, here would be the place, right, for Northerners, right? This is our version of like being oppressed, right? Because they don't want Northerners to succeed down here. And there are so many layers to this. I can't get into that because it would take one whole video just to talk about the people. And I don't want to do that, right? Because I'm already now a few minutes in. I can't express it enough how shitty they are. It's again, it could take a whole video. I hate to say it because there's some good ones out here, and thank you. And for those people who have embraced me, whether it was from bowling or some people that my clients who have embraced me, and they want to see me succeed, and I love those people, and I'm not going to get into all those names, but you know who you are if you ever do see this. And I apologize for those people, but for everybody else out there, right? If they may see me, they may think, oh, I'm not a shitty person. You know what? If you never made an attempt to make a friend with a Northerner, maybe you're just a little shitty. I don't know what to say. But I have a hard time out here. My family in Hampstead, they're having a hard time out here. We're not being embraced. So society doesn't want us around, and they make it known and they make it clear. That's why this comes in at number one is the people. The people suck ass. Okay, let's go right into number two. Number two is the cost of living, right? The cost of living is not as good as you think, right? You would think, let's go down south, let's get away from the city, let's get away from the chaos and the hectic life, right? And let's go where it's cheaper. No, because ever since the Northerners are moving down here, right? And I get that, and that's why locals are mad, because I see the changes happening already in the year and a half I was here, and not in a good way, right? Because I wanted to get away from New York City. I wanted to adapt to down here, and now that more and more Northerners are moving down here, the price of living is going up, the price of housing is going up, apartments, buying houses, everything's going up, and the Northerners, the locals are pissed off. I'd be pissed off too. So I'm not happy about that, because I didn't want that either. I got away from New York City for that. And so it's pretty bad. The cost of living is close to the same as New York City, and the national pay rate is not much better, right? The minimum wage in North Carolina is $7.50, right? And that's talking inland, just national. I mean, the statewide average. You come to Wilmington or a city, it's going to be more like $15 an hour. But still, that's if you get lucky, right? Most places are going to be around $10, $11, or $12. My daughter got a job in a couple of spots. It was no more than like $14 an hour that she was getting paid. So the cost of living, the gas is the same or a little bit different, and food prices are pretty much the same. And I think with some of these restaurants, because there's not much competition, they price gouge, right? Like we're in Brooklyn, we're in New York City, we can get a sushi roll for like $3-4, right? Here it's like $5-6. I'm like, what the fuck is this? This makes no sense. Sushi doesn't cost that much, right? I went to a smoothie spot once. They were like $9-10 for like a regular size smoothie. I'm like, I said, guys, I can get a smoothie for less than that in New York, right? And I just don't get it. I'm just not getting it. I'm assuming it's only because there's not a lot of competition like there is in New York. There's so much competition. So, they got to keep the prices down. So that could probably have something to do with it. But by and large, most things are just as much as New York or just a tad bit lower. The one thing I do find cost of living a little bit better, or prices that are a little bit better, is alcohol. You can still go to a bar and get a beer for like $2.50 or $2 or $3 or something like that, which is pretty cool. So I say that's the one thing that kind of stands out. Obviously, parking is just as much, or in some places like $5 an hour near the beach, which is ridiculous, right? I can park for less than that in New York City. Definitely less than that in New York City, and I could park for free near a beach in New York City in a lot of spots. But here, that's not happening. You get to the beaches, I just don't get it. So if you're coming down here and you have a job in place and you know you're gonna be making good money, you might not be bothered by number two. But if you're coming down here and you're not quite sure what to do and you're kind of gonna have to find a job like myself, you're gonna realize that not much things are very different. Actually, car insurance is definitely cheaper down here, but that's the way it is when you leave New York City in general, especially Brooklyn. Once you leave Brooklyn, which is the second highest car insurance in the country, I think first is Miami, you're going to be paying much less. Okay, that's number two, the cost of living. Coming in at number three is alcoholism is a way of life, right? If you make some friends out here, either that person or the person they know or the person they know, they're going to be some sort of alcoholic, right? Because all the breweries, like I mentioned in the first video, there's a lot of breweries out here, and drinking is just part of regular normal life, right? It's just the way it is. People go out to bars, they drink. I guess back before this place started evolving, before Wilmington became what it is now, they was probably bored. And so there was a lot of drinking, and I'm not quite sure what the drug situation is out here, but certainly drinking is part of life. And I saw a saying once, it says, "I'm not drunk, I'm in Wilmington." Okay, it's just the way it is. So if you're just trying to get a fresh start, and that might be one of the things you're trying to get away from, is just being around that element, here is not the place to go, because you will either stay an alcoholic if you are one, or you're just going to be around it all the time. And it's not to say that people who go out to bars and drink beers are all alcoholics, but other than that, I see most of the people out here that go out drinking, they do it a lot. And obesity is a big problem out here, and I guess that could be one of the reasons why I attribute that to being overweight, obese, is that everyone's drinking, right? And it's kind of nonstop. So that comes in at number three. You might not agree with that one, but to me, that's kind of where I'm at, because I'm not really much of a drinker at all. So I put this one at number three. All right, coming in at number four, all right, are the schools. So when you make a big move down here, right, you have to just kind of know some things are just not going to be the same, right? And I knew that going into it, and you research certain things, you research schools if you have kids, and that's kind of a big deal, right? Because you're going from New York, where there's a lot of services and a lot of things you can get in New York City that you can't get anywhere else, pretty much. And then when you get down here, you realize you're not only going to get the services that you got in New York, but it's much worse than that. Much worse than you can imagine. And there really is no safe place. The scores are low, the teachers are kind of poor. I don't know if they really care that much. I don't really know what the problem is. I just don't know if there's much effort put into it. I just think things are just so lackadaisical here and so easygoing that I just think that's just the way it is. And you know what? That's not really a thing that bothers me too much, because I work with my kids on the side. Their mom works with them on the side. We have them reading. We have them doing schoolwork all summer long. We're on top of that. So that, for me, honestly, is probably not one of the worst things, like being number four. But I just trying to have kind of be devil's advocate, trying to have a different perspective as what I think a northerner would feel. And that would be number four. I think would be schools, because the services is just not the same. The performance is still pretty bad. They do have a lot of sports in these schools, which is great. If that's something that kind of drives you and just that's enough for you, then here's a good place to go. Wilmington specifically, really not really good for schools. But you can go up to Hampstead, where my kids are, and their mom, in the suburbs, and it's a little bit better out here. Still not much better. It's not better than what you're gonna get from New York, but as far as performance-wise, but it's better than Wilmington. I specifically don't really mind how schools are run up in Hampstead, because even though they're all under a county, they sort of do things differently down here in Wilmington, in the city, and I'm okay with the way things are run out there. Again, as far as keeping their academics up, it's just about doing the work as a parent, doing the work yourself, and just taking that time. And most parents, I think, are lazy. I think a lot of the viewers here might be lazy and just want, and they're used to a certain amount of service and are spoiled the way things go in New York. But you know, you just have to put a little time, a little effort, and you'll see that that's not really such a bad thing at all, and you might be able to deal with that. All right, so coming in at number 5, we have road markings, sidewalks, street lamps, right? Really bad. When you come out here, let's just say you come out here, you don't even have the best eyesight, right? I don't have the best eyesight, I don't think. And the street paint is hard to see. The islands in the middle of the streets there's no paint on them at all, right? You could easily hit something. Making left turns are fucked up, right? You can't even make left turns a lot of times. It's one of those situations where you kind of got to go in the middle, and then so the car is on the right because it's a 2-lane street, and then you got to get into the middle, which is like a one single turning lane, right? There's the same turning lane for both sides, moving both directions, going to the same turning lane. So it's very dangerous. Making lefts are just fucked up out here. You know, how the light sequence goes, not such a huge deal, but at nighttime it's really bad because the paint is really poor and it's really hard to see where you're going a lot of the times. Not a lot of street lamps at all, so the streets are not lit. They're very, very dark, and there's some roads that do have lights, that have lampposts and are kind of well lit, but by and large most of Wilmington is pretty dark, and that's pretty tough when you're used to New York and trying to get around. And you know, street signs are like this big, right? You can't see you just can't see where you're going. Road markings are poor. There's not many sidewalks, right? So many of the bigger roads might, but overall, a lot of the roads just don't have sidewalks, so you have to kind of walk on the grass and just, you know, hopefully you don't get hit by a car, right? It's not bike friendly at all, so it's not really good to have a bike or an e-bike. I've done it before because at some point I didn't have a car and I had to get around by bike, and I was just scared the whole way. So it's hard to get around. You know, public transportation is really not that big out here yet. So if you're riding on a bike, you're gonna struggle, but if you're in the car, you're gonna have these struggles as well because you're gonna have to adjust everything, just kind of get used to the way things go. Dark roads, poor paint, and no sidewalks. So I find that that's probably one of the things that need to be sort of addressed here, probably more than anything. In Wilmington, if the city can make some changes and put a little money, you know, if it's in their budget, and that's changing those things around, making the streets a little safer, because right now they're pretty dangerous. The speed limits are high. New York City, the speed limit's like 25-30 in the streets. Here it's going to be like 35-40. So everyone's moving at a very fast pace, and right, and unlike New York City, there's not enough situational driving, so drivers are not great because they don't see enough. There's not enough going on, and now there's more people and more things happening. Drivers don't know how to react. Their reaction time is poor, and they're moving at a higher speed, so this makes the streets a bit dangerous. So that's number 5, road markings, sidewalks, and street lamps. Okay, coming at number 6, we have not such a horrible thing for me, because I'm kind of got used to that, but everything closes super early, right? You gotta be better prepared. You gotta just be on top of it. There's no more procrastinating when you're down here, because people just want to go home. People just want, you know, to finish with their workday and go home, and they don't care about closing. It's not like New York City hustle and bustle where the guys are open till midnight, 2, 3, 4, 9 p.m. Most businesses are done, right? You get a few businesses that are open a little bit later, but overall, you're not going to find like a 24-hour mini mart or bodega. Those days are over if you move down here, okay? So if you just like the convenience of just having to be able to run out and get something in a 24-hour pharmacy, or just a piece of candy or some chips, not fucking happening at all. There is one CVS that I know closes at 11, and that might be the latest I've seen something open. Bars close at 2, right? If it's like a bar club. But overall, most places are by 10 o'clock or shut down. You don't even see breweries, right? They're 9 o'clock, they're done, right? 9, 10 o'clock, done. So you just have to get your shit done early, right? But if you don't, right, you're gonna find yourself cutting short. But I think that's something you could adjust to. But I think as a Northerner or a New Yorker, I think if you're used to that, again, with being spoiled, things closing really early, it's going to be a big adjustment. It's something you're probably going to struggle getting used to. And that's why I put it at number 6, is everything closes early. even on the holidays, you better be super prepared. There is no last minute shopping in the holidays around here. It's not happening, right? Shit closes on Sundays. Some businesses close on Mondays. Right. If you're not getting it, doesn't matter if it's holidays or not. Nobody's staying open later. Okay. Very, very religious area. When it's a Catholic holiday, things are shut down. That's just the way it is. All right. Coming in at number 7. This is my personal kind of item on the list. This might not be yours, but if you're single, being single, right? If you're single, being down here, you have no chance, right? You have no freaking chance, right? I'm an outgoing guy, pretty friendly overall, right? I've never had a hard time meeting women. I've never had a hard time even meeting people in general. But out here, I don't know what the fuck it is about the women out here. You could ask me 10 times what it is. I don't know what the fuck they want, why they're so hard. Do they just want guys to worship them, kiss the ground they walk on? Do they want just guys that only fucking fish? They want guys that only, have boats, right? Because if you go on dating apps, right, this is all you see is the women out here have like drinks in their hand, with fish in their hand, they're on boats, right? And I guess if you don't have that, right, I guess you have no chance. I guess me being a northern, I guess I kind of expected that because I have not met a local woman yet in a year and a half who's even giving me a time of day, right? Even this girl used to walk by right here where I live, right? And this is just a friendly thing. I would just say hello, right? Just come, she's my neighbor. Head down, walking, won't even look my way, rude. This is the people out here, right? This is the people, this is the women. If you're a guy out here, there's no chance. There's no chance to get a woman out here. Any of the good ones are taken already. If you're in your like 30s, 20s or 30s, it might be a chance. But if you're past that, like me in the 40s, it's not happening. Good ones are gone. If the northerners are coming down here, chances are they're coming down here with families and with loved ones and a husband or a wife, right? I came down here as a single man. I came down here with my son and their mom, and things didn't really kind of work out with her, but I wished it did, but it didn't, and now here I am just trying to like find love in all the wrong places, I guess. This is the first place I've ever been to, ever, anywhere in the country or in the world, because I've been around, where a woman was not fascinated with a guy from Brooklyn, right? Now I know that sounds a little smug and a little like kind of conceited and cocky, but it's freaking true. And so like I don't have a shot out here, right? Besides the unfriendly people, right? The women are they're like a mystery to me, right? And I thought I kind of knew women until I moved down here. Like I said, the best people I've met down here, the best experiences I've had are even conversations are people not from here. So if you're coming down here and you're single, I feel bad for you. I tell you, pick another place because there might be a better city out here. Like Asheville's more like a mini New York than Wilmington, because it's hopeless. I've given up, and I just have to accept what it is right now and just die alone, I guess. All right, so that's coming at number 7. If you're being single, this is really a really bad place to be. But just to add to that, it is a college town, so there's a lot of youth, a lot of young people here, right? It's a big college town, right? And unless you're in that age bracket, you're right, not gonna make it out here, right? But if you're older than that, right, being in such a big college town, it's either college kids or old people, right? And that in-between stage, right, it's a little sketchy, right? It's a little suspect. So just want to add to that. All right. Coming in at number 8 is number 1 is the good things is beaches. Well, number 8 worst thing is that the beach parking is horrible, right? There's no place you can park in the beach during peak seasons, which is probably going to be about 7 or 8 months or a little more, and without paying $5 an hour, which is insane, right? $5 an hour in a lot of places like that around here as well. Or if you go like to the city downtown, certain times of the day, it's going to be more expensive than others. Like today, I was on downtown today. I paid $1.85 for 45 minutes, which is not bad at all. But near the beach, no matter what, $5 an hour, straight, hard, no matter what time of day, $5 an hour. Wrightsville Beach does offer 2-hour free parking. If you park at the park, Wrightsville Beach Park, and then walk about a half a mile to the beach, you get 2 hours of free parking. That's about it. But other than that, you're paying out your ass for parking near the beaches, which to me is insane. The locals do not get a discount. The only people that get a discount is if you live right in that area, like Wrightsville Beach residents will get a discount. Carolina Beach residents will get a discount. But if I want to just go for a run in Carolina Beach and I just need an hour, I have to pay $5 just to go for a run, which is insane because I think locals, which I am now, should get some sort of discount. I have a local address, so I should get a discount, and you don't. So I know, again, this is kind of my opinion on that, about the beach parking, because I like to go to the beach a lot. But I had to put that on the list. Beach parking, coming in at number 8. Shame on them. And the worst part about that is that paying for parking all year round, kind of just started a couple of years ago, and I guess locals attribute Northerners to fucking that shit up too, right? That's not our fault, right? Yes, Wilmington was a hidden gem, and all these beautiful little places are kind of like, not that many people knew about, and things were a little bit different 5 years ago, and I can see why someone would get upset about it, because those are great things that this city once was. But now it's pretty shitty. It's worse than New York, like in other places. $5 an hour, just dumb. Okay, let's move on. Coming in at number 9 is this place is probably like 10 years behind in just about everything, right? And that I kind of mentioned that in about number 1 when they're blaming all the Northerners for things are changing. No, it's just that you're fucking evolving is what you're doing, right? And you can't just blame Northerners for that, because you're just catching on to what the rest of the country is doing, right? And so just because we're a little more advanced in New York, we're a lot more advanced, and we move a little faster, doesn't mean we're the reason why all these changes are happening. All these are good. These changes should be happening, right? Because you're 10 years behind, and it's crazy. And for the Northerners that do want to come down here and change things, just kind of fuck things up a little bit, just don't do it, right? Don't come down here and be a Karen or a Craig, right? Just accept the way things are. If you're not happy with it, I don't care what part of the Northeast you're from. If you're not happy with the way shit's going on down here, don't fucking move down here, right? That's how I feel. Now, I'm probably not in the majority when it comes to that, because, I think Northerners, again, are spoiled and expect things a certain way and not willing to change or adapt, right? But I think that you're going to fail in a lot of things in life if you're not willing to adapt, right? If you're too old, too slow, and unwilling to change, you're going to get left behind. That's just the way it is, right? You have to be able to adapt to your situation. And I think that the Northerners that are coming down here and trying to change things around and shift things and kind of fuck things up for the locals, right? They're making it really bad for everybody else, because someone like me, who's just trying to adapt to the lifestyle out here, is now screwed because of the ones who want to come down here and change it. Just know this right now. Take this as a warning. If you want to come down here and change things, it's not going to happen. The Southerners are not going to make that easy for you, right? It's not going to happen. Just stay up north or go somewhere else. Just go to another state, because they got a tight lock on the way things are down here. It may eventually change, but it's not happening right now. You're not getting what you think you're going to get when you move down here. So just don't change shit up, right? If you want it, if you want things to be down here like it was up there, stay up there. That's all I have to say. And that's me as a Northerner saying that, who wants to get away from that lifestyle. But just understand where they're coming from. And like I had said in my first video, the simple life, which is a good thing, right? Sometimes the simple life is great. It's also kind of bad in some ways, right? Because when I first down here, I didn't realize that Facebook was still relevant, right? And Craigslist was still relevant, and all these platforms that I didn't even use are still relevant out here, and I just was wondering why. It's because things are so behind here in every way, right? The way businesses are run, the way schools are run, the way they handle law issues, right, and crime, the way I don't know, you kind of go down the list, right? And so you'll notice that everywhere you go, and it could be a good or a bad thing sometimes, but the things are so lackadaisical, so behind that it becomes a little bit of a problem. Again, not the worst thing for me, and because I just want to give you another perspective and another kind of angle on how people kind of look at life out here and how it could be frowned upon. Again, not the biggest issue for me, but I can see why it is an issue. All right, let's go. Let's move on to number 10, and that is, this place is like a swampland, right? It's like Miami, right? This is wetlands out here, right? There's not a lot of solid land, and where there is, they're all building. They're building a lot more now. They're building way too much, in fact, more than they could handle, and it's becoming a problem because traffic is getting worse and things like that. But that's for another video. Okay, but swamplands, right? We're in wetlands. It's hard to be in a body of water where there's probably not gators, right? And I think there's a lot of brackish water here. So I think like fresh water has, sharks, and salt water has gators, and it's just kind of crazy here. And the water's great, and I do go in the ocean, and it's pretty awesome. But everywhere else, right? I live kind of right near a lake, big greenfield lake over here, which used to be, I heard, was pretty nice and pretty beautiful, and a place we could swim. But now it's just like, I guess, infested with gators, right? And so no one goes in there anymore. And so, but people still fish in there and things like that. And it's not like the gators are out in the street walking around, right? It's just a problem. You just can't feed the gators, which is fine. I don't want to feed them anyway. Then you don't want them to get close to the people. And so, you just don't feed them, right? But yes, if that's a problem for you, if you're going to build here and you want to move, you got to really think about what your surrounding area is in, because we are in a swampland, and a lot of the land is kind of eroding in some places, and water's rising, and that could be a problem down the line. I haven't found flooding to be an issue yet. The last big flood here was, I forgot what they call it, but it was some years back, and there hasn't been one since then. But it can be a problem some places. But there's lots of places where it's pretty safe. It's good enough amount above sea level where it shouldn't be a problem. All right, so that about wraps up the top 10 worst reasons why you might not want to move down here. And trust me, number 1 is enough. Okay, but I have a bonus. Okay. Number 11, or let's just say the bonus, and that's they are building too fast. Well, they're building not fast, but they're building everywhere. There's not enough roads, businesses, infrastructure. It's just not enough for the people moving down here. The city cannot compensate for the people moving down here. It's just so much, so saturated. The traffic is getting fucked up now in some intersections. We're gonna go over that in another video on what intersections to kind of avoid and what's the worst. But again, coming from New York, the traffic's not that bad because I can still kind of get to work in 15 or 20 minutes and things like that. I don't have to leave the house an extra hour like in New York, right? And you have to drive everywhere, so that's one thing. So you have to kind of be wary of that because there's no public transportation. But they are building condos everywhere you go. Wherever there's free land, they're taking it up with these apartment complexes and housing. Not enough buildings to open up businesses, right? And all the space that they're using, they're putting up more apartments and maybe some more houses. I'm not quite sure, but it's getting a little too ridiculous, and it's happening every time I turn around. In the year and a half I've been here, I see all this construction going on. They are building finally a bypass that's going to help with a lot of the traffic, because there's not enough roads, like I said, and highways to compensate for the people that are trying to get in and out of like Wilmington to like Hampstead, right? Which is like the suburbs north of Wilmington, where like my sons and their mom lives. There's one road that gets you there, 17, right? On the right side, the east side is 17, right? Which is chaos, fucking chaos. It'll take you probably an extra 30 minutes to try to get up there if you're on there. There is another road on the west side, which kind of takes you around. That's much, much better. But either way, still not great options. You're still going to struggle. And I think that if you are looking to move down here, you could try to find more of the other surrounding areas like Leland, like Hampstead, like Castle Hayne and Carolina Beach. But either way, all roads lead to Wilmington in the end, right? And if there's anything you need to do that's pretty important, it's most likely going to be in Wilmington, because those other areas are not as developed. Carolina Beach is pretty nicely developed. Leland's on its way there. Castle Hayne's part of sort of Wilmington, but Castle Hayne's really kind of country lands out there, and what's it called, Burgaw, things like that, right? Just like rural areas. And eventually you have to kind of come into Wilmington to kind of get everything done, and any services you might be looking for, things to do with kids, right? It's all going to be here. So that might be a good enough reason to not want to move down here, because it's going to be a problem in about 5 years, a big problem. So, all right, so that about wraps up the top 10 worst things about moving down here to Wilmington, North Carolina, or the surrounding areas. So thank you again for tuning in. Please share this information, right? Because a lot of people are going to be moving down here within the next 5 years, and they're going to want to know some information that you're not going to be able to really find when you look it up online, and you're looking up and you're researching statistics in schools. You're not going to really get the answers you're looking for. You're going to need someone who's like the inside man. Me, I'm the inside man, the New Yorker who's involved in the infrastructure, who's getting involved in all these things I'm talking about, who has kids here in the school, who needs the community and society, is trying to make it as a businessman, an entrepreneur, a single man. I'm trying to live the life out here and blend and become part of this, the fabric of this society, and I'm not being let in. All right. So you just need to know that if you have a job and you already know you got a good position out here, and you can kind of live in your bubble, in your house, and just go point A to point B, you're good. This is a fucking fantastic place to live, right? But if you need all these things like I do, and all these resources and help and community and support, this is not the place to be. And I can say that wholeheartedly. I really want this to work down here, but I feel like I'm being pushed out, and they're kind of winning. Right? And I'm losing here, and I think that kind of goes with my son and their mom too. Everything I've tried to do down here so far, I failed it, grossly failed, and it's discouraging. So I just want you to share this information, get it out there. See, I don't know if this discourages you enough, right? Because you still want to get away from New York, but try to consider other options if that was the case. Thank you again for taking the time. I know this was a long video. I knew it was going to be a long video because there was a whole lot to say, and I'm going to talk more about these specific topics on other videos. Again, my name is Charles Vassallo from Brooklyn, New York. Let's go. Thank you again for tuning in to my channel, New York City to Wilmington. See you next episode.